O'Reilly. Are your wiper blades chattering, skipping, or squeaking? Don't let streaks or smearing on your windshield compromise your visibility. When it's time to replace your wiper blades, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and see our selection. Our professional parts people will even install your new wiper blades while you wait. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today. O'Reilly Auto Parts.
There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today. You ever get that feeling the walls closing in, the concrete jungle suffocating you? You crave some wide open spaces, the chance to connect with nature, maybe in a spot all your own. Well, head over to land.com. They've got ranches, forests, mountains, streams, you name it. Search by acreage. You can search by location. You can search by the kind of hunting and fishing you're dreaming of. Land.com. It is where the adventure begins.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the THC Daily Quarantine Cast. I hope you had a great weekend. I'm recording this on Sunday night. Phil is off having dinner with his family, so I didn't want to force him to be here with me. But I already had dinner with mine. We spent the whole weekend outside cooking, running around doing fun things. So we're going to take a little break from all of that to talk to you guys about what the hell's going on in my life and what's going on with old THC. Now, I got to start with emails because we've been getting so many emails from you guys out there. So if I'm not getting back to you right away, apologies, but the emails are flooding in. Everybody I know is in front of computers, in front of screens, and not doing their normal lives. So there's a lot of things coming in. But I want to read you a few things before we get to the show. We got a great show today with Kevin Harlander from First Lite, talking turkeys, talking elk, talking the Heartbreak Bull. We call it the Heartbreak Bull because poor Kevin got broken up with. He got a Dear John letter or Dear Kevin letter from a longtime girlfriend, and then he went out and killed a giant bull. It's the ultimate. I would say revenge is a good way to put it. But before we get to that, we're going to do some emails and the hand turkey contest, which is going swimmingly thanks to you. Because I just took my little boy up to a local trail here, a pretty popular trailhead here in Bozeman, and it was full of people. It was a nice day today out in Bozeman, and this trailhead was full of folks and polite, socially distant people enjoying. Some people running, some people hiking, some people taking their kids for a walk. There was even a young boy, I would say probably 4 or 5 years old, dressed like a knight with a sword and a shield, said he was fighting the coronavirus. A lot of people just taking this time to breathe fresh air. A lot of really nice, pleasant conversation I had with people as they stopped on the trail. My boy and I took a break. My son discovered trail mix, which just means M&Ms in his case. He just picked the M&Ms out and that was it. But as we sat there and ate, we had a lot of pleasant conversations with people who were coming by, who were happy, positive, and outside. So hopefully you all got to do that as well. We went on lots of bike rides, lots of hikes. Did some tree identification with my son, which was fun. And so hopefully you all got to do that. As weird as some of these moments are, I'll remember some of these feelings for a long, long time, and just some of the indelible moments in this crisis, this pandemic, that just things don't look the same. So I'll remember that for a while. I'm sure you all have those examples. But Ryan Monahan wrote in. He said, "Hey, Ben, I've been listening to your show for a long time. I've never written in, though. I live in New York City, and while I normally look forward to your podcast so I can mentally drift off to the hunting woods where I'm happiest, I find that during this quarantine, I absolutely need the mental escape. So from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to thank you, Phil T. Engineer, and all of your guests for making the Daily Quarantine Cast. I'm now going to put on my N95 mask, rubber gloves, and bike off into the practically empty streets of Manhattan in search of a butcher shop that's open so I can hopefully find some pork fat to grind into the venison I have thawing for ragu. And I'm damn grateful that I got a deer this year because our stores are all but depleted of meat. Cheers, bud. I'll spray down my hand turkeys with Lysol before sending. It's pretty good. He sent a picture of an absolutely empty street in New York City. As many times as I've been in New York City, you don't ever find an empty street. So it's weird in many ways. Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it, man. We're pulling for you there, man. Stay safe. Stay quarantined as much as you can. Making sausage ain't a bad way to get through. So hopefully you and your loved ones there in New York City are safe. To the hand turkey portion of the show, my sweet Jesus, have you people turned in some hand turkeys. I was just telling Phil the engineer in the brief time I had with him before he had to go, the amount, if you thought the poems and the illustrations of his voice face and all the turkey call videos were good, the bar has been raised. The level has been set with the hand turkey contest. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and listen to last week's THC Daily Quarantine Cast, because you need to kind of keep up with every show. People have been asked, all you listeners have been asked, to take your hand, place it on a piece of paper or some other thing you can trace, use a drawing implement and trace your hand, and then decorate that hand to look like a turkey, like we've all done as a kid. Do the absolute best you can. Now, some people have taken that up a notch. Alec, Aycock, I don't know, Aycock. Alec, I'm sorry for always mispronouncing everyone's name and yours. He sent in a masterpiece. If I'll try to describe it. It is an actual freestanding turkey that looks like a hand turkey that was constructed in such a way as you would tie a fly. It's got all the fly tying implements in it. So I'll read you what he wrote. He said, "What's up? Hope this quarantine is treating you well and your toilet paper rolls are many. Attached are my photos for the hand turkey submission. I am a fly fisherman turned turkey hunter, and as you will see in the pictures, this season will actually be my first time hunting turkeys. Good luck, buddy. So this contest is really getting me in the mood. My precious fly tying materials used to create my hand turkey are as follows: a turkey feather, brown saddle hackle, black saddle hackle, Cape grizzly hackle, 2 ground squirrel tails, 2 gray squirrel tails, red bucktail, blue dubbing, barbell eyes, 2 trout beads, squirmy wormy, orange foam, and 2 hooks for the spurs. My wife called me a child last night when she saw the entire kitchen table covered in hot glue and feathers. The first picture is the photo submission. The second one is just a close-up. A proud THC addict, Alec. Alec, my friend, holy shit. You have created a once-in-a-lifetime masterpiece with this turkey. I don't know if it can be beat, but I hope everyone out there can give it a shot. I will post, or Meat Eater's channel or something will post this hand turkey as an inspiration, so make sure you go to BennyOB301 on Instagram to check that out. It's important that you try to meet or best Alec, because he has set the pace on that great hand turkey competition. We still have a long way to go to hit 1,000, but we can make it there if you guys keep sending your hand turkeys in. We're gonna check back in a couple of days. It's looking like the deadline is probably going to be the Tuesday after this coming. So tomorrow is Tuesday. A week after that is when the deadline will be. So you have a little bit of time, plenty of quarantine time, I'm sure, for all of you. But you got to get in there, see if you can beat Alec, because he has set a fantastic pace. Congrats, Alec. And apologize to your wife for me. Sorry for wasting your time. So now, without further ado, you're going to enjoy this one. My man from First Lite, Kevin Harlander. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 6, I guess. We'll call it episode 6 of the Quarantine Cast. This is Monday. We've made it through the weekend. Kevin Harlander, how you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good, man. Good to get outside. We're working from home. The whole crew at First Lite is homebound, but we're cranking. Getting ready to another week ahead here.
Yeah, we're simultaneously we were both talking about we both had to cancel trips to Texas, or conceivably these trips aren't going to happen. Maybe we get lucky, but likely not. So you got to find alternative ways to be and alternative places to go. And luckily, you're in Ketchum, Idaho, where First Lite is, and I'm in Bozeman. So there's not a lack of things to do outside. What's your outside game plan, or what was it this weekend, or what's the thing?
Well, we're down in Haley, Idaho, so just a little bit south of Ketchum is where our house is. So we've got great access to some shed hunting and some great fishing. So actually the trout fishing's been really good. A bunch of guys have been getting out kind of like, spaced basically 100 yards down the river. You can see them, you can wave, but so it's like a little social distancing practice. So we've been fishing quite a bit, trying to watch some elk, see what they're doing. And we're lucky, man. There's a lot of outside opportunity here, and you don't feel too cooped up. But
what's the outside of the work thing, and what's the mindset you go into this time with as it stretches into week 2, and as we were probably talking about before we hit record, you just don't know how long it's going to go. At this point, there's so much uncertainty. You can certainly fill that void of uncertainty with positivity or negativity or stress. I mean, there's so much you can do. What's your mindset going?
That's a great question. I think the biggest thing that I've been working on is just talking to people that do this every day. So like we've got Greg Farrell, who's our whitetail product line manager. He works out of Wisconsin, so this is like normal for him. He works from his house. Kenyon put up a great post the other day about how to sort of mitigate the time at home. And I think the biggest thing is just keeping that routine. So continuing to get up early, continuing to get outside midday, taking breaks, trying not to raid the fridge every 14 seconds and just trying to stick in the routine. And then also, the biggest thing too is like we've been calling each other a lot, just like catching up with guys, because we work in such a interesting office that we've got a couple different spaces and people are always kind of milling around. So you sort of miss out on that human to human contacts. We've been FaceTiming people and calling people and just trying to keep things normal as possible. Yeah,
that's a good way to. I find myself staring at myself in a damn a damn screen the whole time, all day, 8-9 hours a day. I don't know if I'm into that or not, but it certainly is good to see other people and connect and do the work thing, of course, have those conversations, but also just check on each other. You all right? You doing good? Mentally, you good?
Yeah.
How can I help? That's what I try to make sure I ask everybody. So that's a good thing. I've been liking to cover that with everybody. We've had so many different people on the show thus far, so many people checking in on the daily Quarantine Cast that it's good to most everybody in my circle, our circle, is fairly well prepared for this. So
I think one thing we've been trying to do too is just plan, it's going to end sooner or later, right? So we've been thinking a lot about September and thinking about what applications we're putting in for, what's still out there, and sort of collaborating on that front. And that's a good way to spend the time too, especially if you're in front of a screen anyway. You can kind of put up that side window and watch some things. So
dream about going outside and chasing elk.
That's right.
So before, I feel like you've been on the show, but you've never been on before. In my mind, you've been on. Yeah, I don't know why I thought you've been on, but so I guess we should, tell people what you do for First Lite and then a little bit about yourself, because we're gonna rip out a couple of stories. You have a strange connection with Friday's show that we'll get to in a minute, and you have a strange, not a strange story, an epic story about your biggest elk you ever killed.
Yeah,
and then we'll talk a little turkeys. Our trip to Oregon last year to kill some birds.
That's right.
But before you get that, just kind of give everybody your role at First Lite, and then how the hell you got there.
Yeah, that's great, man. First of all, great to be here. Something I wanted to do for a while, so I appreciate it. We've been hanging out for a little while, and it's been good to get to know you and the program for sure. So I run community management at First Lite, and that's sort of a broad job description. I do everything from like pro team management, so hanging out with you guys and Meat Eater and everybody across our influencer standpoint. So that's everybody from like Cable Smith in Texas to Mark Kenyon in the Whitetail Woods and everybody in between. And, part of my job really is community relations. So I act as a liaison between product testing and sort of our marketing implementation, just trying to keep those communication channels open. Another thing I do is manage all our like relationships or partnerships in the world. So we do a lot of stuff with like Weatherby or SIG or all these different companies, trying to be the liaison between First Light and some of those external partners. So that's been really interesting because I come from the world of guided elk hunts for a while and worked in marketing in different capacities, but made my way over to First Light through a guy who I work with a lot now named Cody Rich of the Rich Outdoors, who I know from years past. And there's just a connection there between him and First Light, obviously him being a pro team member there. And I done some things in the past with him, and he connected me to the folks at First Light when this job opened up. And that was all about who you know, man. So he made the introduction, and the rest is history, so to speak.
Is it fair to say that you replaced Ryan Callahan? Is that fair to say that?
That's some people say that. I'm like, big shoes to fill, little shoes to fill. I don't know. I think he did some incredible stuff over here, and really like is sort of the foundation of First Light. So part of his role was conservation, which is sort of translated over to Ford Van Fossen. And obviously that's a huge pillar of what we do. So that role has sort of been encapsulated in a big part of what we do. So I kind of took on the relationship aspect that Ryan was working on for sure. And obviously he set the stage really early with guys like Hushin and Born and Raised and a few, and obviously Meat Eater, the connection there. So his work over here has been pretty well received, obviously, throughout the years, and just a great guy, great ambassador for the sport, I would say, and right. For the industry, for sure.
That's right. Yeah, no, I'll say it for it. It's a dream job. I held a similar position at Yeti. That was kind of my deal, as listeners may or may not know.
That's right.
It's great, man. It's great. If you love the outdoors and you love the things that our community cares about, being in a position that you're in, it's fantastic. I'm glad you're there and glad you can be here to tell some hunting stories with us. Now, we have to first address now, if you didn't listen to episode 5 of the Corny Cast from Friday, please go back and listen to that now. We'll give you a moment. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed episode 5. That's Cole Kramer, DJ Bell, Derek Sullivan, and one Benjamin Potter of the Potters.
That's right.
One of my favorite people in the world, another mustachioed young man.
Oh, great mustache, man.
Real great mustache. Now, would you say better than Ryan Callahan, similar to Ryan Callahan? How would you compare?
Well, I think you got regional distinctions there. Ben being from SLO, San Luis Obispo, Cali, and Ryan being from Montana. You get sort of, I would say Ryan's is more of a Western mustache.
That's right.
Kind of almost on the precipice of a handlebar. And then you got Ben Potter, who's just like the full-on, I run a camera mustache, And also kill elk now, apparently. Killed 2 elk last year. So good friend of mine, Ben Potter, is a fantastic human.
So, yeah, you knew Ben before I knew you, and you were entangled in the mess that we were involved in on Kodiak. Now, we told the story on Friday about a river that froze. We had to hike out 4 miles each way with 100-pound packs to a beachhead where we would get picked up. That didn't happen. And we mentioned briefly in that show that Ben Potter, our camper guy, had to be somewhere.
Yeah.
And that somewhere had to do with you, yeah?
Yeah. So I worked with Ben. Actually, Ben hired me to do some camera work back in the day on a couple of projects. For a competing brand who shall not be named on this show. But great people. We were working on a project called Duck Trip. And I was helping Ben sort of as a second camera and doing some work with him. And I get this phone call. I can't remember. I think it was actually a sat phone text message, like from an inReach, basically.
Yeah, we had a sat phone. Yep.
And I remember I was supposed to meet Ben in Central California and then Northern California for part of this trip. And I was coming from Central Oregon at the time and was supposed to go run a camera for him. And he's like, hey, how comfortable are you with just doing this trip? And I was like, well, what does that mean exactly? You know, what's the what are we talking about here? And he's, well, I'm stuck on Kodiak and I can't make it to where you're at. So I'll meet you in Montana. Basically, good luck. The gear's getting shipped down. So I show up and basically had to run a full 3-day filmed hunt, you know, by myself, having very little camera experience at the time, but certainly learned how to run that stuff pretty quickly. But just kind of a funny correlation and funny small world. You know, this industry is pretty tight knit, and it's funny to hear that story come from a different perspective, you know. But
yeah, no, and I told the story. My favorite part of that hunt, and we'll see. I'll have to talk to Ben and see if he remembers the same way I do. When the wheel plane finally landed on the beach, and again, if you didn't listen to episode 5, shame on you. Go over there and do it. When it landed on the beach, it could only take so many of us. There were 6 people in the crew, and it could only take 3. And so we were choosing who would go. Ben, at this, desperate to get to you at this point and film his next thing, but also desperate to like have a shower, maybe have a sandwich. Yeah. Either way, like get a warm bed, whatever. Right. Desperate for a lot of things, for a lot of reasons. When we decided that me and the 2 guys would stay back and the other guys would get to fly first, because the danger was that if fog rolled back in, if another blizzard came in, if the tide got worse, we might be stuck there for a couple more days. And Ben knew getting on that plane was probably the difference between getting with you and being a part of that project and having a thing that he put together totally get crushed. Yeah. And so when I told him, like, you get on the plane, dude, I'll stay, the look in his, I think a single tear rolled down his little California
kiss you right
cheek.
On the cheek.
Yeah. He may have, but he got on the plane, man, and he made it. And you guys filmed that thing, and I remember watching it and enjoying the shit out of it. So
that was a fun project, man. We just followed around a couple guys duck hunting throughout the West, sort of this road trip. And it was just like, Ben does such a great job of telling a story without even having to have a real shot list, right? He just is able to capture such a great piece because he brings in such good talent and he brings in an interesting story. The stories he tries to tell are just without much effort that they come about. The effort's obviously on the back end, and he produces a great thing. He's one of my favorite dudes in the world, and I'm really grateful for that opportunity, man. I learned a lot, especially how to be on your toes, man.
Yeah, you need it. So you texted me that this morning. I'm like, you told me that story before, and I had forgotten about it. So it's funny that this is how these things connect. But beyond that, you told me also that you have a story of the biggest elk that you killed that's entangled with a lady friend.
That's right.
Give it to me.
Yeah, I will, man. I think it's funny because, like, in times like these, it's good to look back on seemingly what were tougher times and the outcomes that came from them, right? So I was a young man, still I'm a young man, but I was a younger man, I should say. And I was in this relationship and came home to basically a note on the table, right? Like, I'm done, I'm out of here. I'm like, oh, crushed, right? Crushed. And I was living in Oregon at the time.
You came home. Were you guys living together?
Yeah, living together. This is like a long-term deal, right? And I was like, oh man, this is the real deal for a while.
How long had it been going on to this point?
Like
how
4
long was the
years.
relationship? Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, a 4-year relationship, and you come home, and
so
there's a note.
There's a note that says, it's basically like it's basically a country song at this point,
Did you take your Labrador Retriever?
I don't think I had any beer in the fridge at all. Didn't have a dog at the time though, so that was good.
That's better. So did you see it coming? Did you see the breakup coming?
I mean, we were at that point, and I think looking back in hindsight, right, everything's always 20/20. We were on different pathways, Great human, I will say. Execution of the split, maybe not the most cordial, but I will say great human, does a lot of good things in the world, and we're on good terms now. However, the time is obviously a little bit distraught, you might say.
Yeah, you're feeling distraught. You've just read a Dear John letter. Mm-hmm. Dear Kevin, I'm out.
More or less. Dear Kevin.
Peace.
It's been good.
Now, what kind of paper was it? Was it just like a scribbled on a napkin? I'm interested in the presentation of this.
I
note.
like that, because without like divulging too much, this woman was a writer. So not to add insult to injury, but the note was really fucking good. I mean, it was just like, the prose was nice. So
okay, good.
Yeah, it's like a piece of notebook paper, right? In like a journal notebook, just but torn out, like wrote it, thought out, ripped it out of there. Not even printed or anything, So yeah, I'm reading this thing and thinking, wow, this is going to change. So, things are changing in my life, and I packed up the truck and headed back to Eastern Oregon, which is kind of my roots in the state. Moved there when I was 19, and then we were living in Portland at the time, and moved back to Eastern Oregon. And this is in the springtime. So we had just put in, all my buddies had just put in for elk tags, right? And Oregon has a pretty good opportunity to hunt over the counter elk, but I put in for a pretty sought after tag, which just kind of on a whim, it's on a preference point system, and not a real good chance to draw this tag at all. So I'm back in Eastern Oregon, and this about a month goes by, having a pretty rough go, and I get an email from the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. And it says, you've been selected for the tag that I put in for. And I was like, oh, that can't be right. And nearly enough points. This can't be right. So I call them, I'm trying to figure it out. And sure enough, I drew a really, like, one of the top 3 units in the state of Oregon. And for those that are in Oregon listening, they understand that there's a few really quality units in Eastern Oregon. And I was lucky enough to select one of those big 3. So at this point, I'm like, holy shit, here we go. This is it. This is kind of the slap on the butt I needed. At that point, I was like, yeah, it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right.
That's some karma. I'll give you some karma there.
Yeah.
And how long after would you describe yourself as heartbroken? Oh,
yeah, for sure.
Crushed.
I'd be lying to you if I wasn't. I think mostly just because of such a change in the direction, right? I mean, we're talking like you think you're going to the left, and all of a sudden here you are going right.
I had that happen to me. I'll tell that story in a later date, but I will intrigue listeners. I had I would say it was absolutely a country song, because I did lose a dog in the situation.
Jeez.
And very similar to this, where I had like the ring picked out. I was about to buy the ring, and then never went down. But I'll tease everybody with that. But so you're heartbroken, and you draw this tag. How long after you were out and back to Oregon did the tag show up, or did you?
I think notified? It was like less than a month. So, which was great, because I was like living in a log cabin that I was renting, kind of on the outside of town, kind of by myself, and you get this email. I'm like, oh, things are looking up. This is going to be all right.
I could picture you like longer hair, maybe a scruffy beard, just you're a hermit at this point.
Still
you gotta allow me to
beard,
paint a picture.
Yeah.
You just got like long hair coming out the side. Yeah, no, that's fine.
That's right.
You guys allow me some license with the creative license with the story. All right. So now you got your tag in your pocket, and you're gonna go try to find a big bull.
Yeah. And at this point, when I drew that tag, the coolest part was that I lived right near where this tag is sought after. So this is, I've been in Eastern Oregon now on and off for about 5-6 years. At this point. So I know this unit really well. I used to fight fire in that country. I know all these like secret honey holes. And it's one of those places that you get to look at all the time, but not a lot of people get to hunt, which is, traumatic for an elk hunting person that's so stoked on it from the get-go. It's just like you look at all these giant bulls and you see them all summer. And finally I have this opportunity to go into it and actually hunt these canyons in this country. So one of the greatest experiences of my life was being able to take the information that I had, through all these summers of being in the woods, and now I get to go actually and do this thing. And I decided that I was going to hunt it by myself too. I thought that this was sort of like my moment of, well, I'm gonna get through this, and I'm gonna do this, and this is going to be like my healing, right? The elk woods are going to bring me back. So all spring and summer, I spent, the better part of 3-4 days a week, after work, before work, on the weekends, just like putting up cameras, hiking into these pretty gnarly drainages to just figure out this unit again after being gone for a while. And so I put all my time and energy into that. And I think that's the energy, or the sort of the emphasis of this point of the story, is that like it really gave me some purpose, and I wasn't really into my job that I was working at the time. And it was this opportunity to sort of put all my effort into something that really brought me a lot of joy. And that's it was a good reminder of getting back to what makes you happy at those times, for sure.
O'Reilly Auto Parts are in the business of keeping your car on the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts offer friendly, helpful service and the parts knowledge you need for all your maintenance and repairs. If you're confused about what part you need, like what wipers are going to be the best, what replacement headlights are going to be the best, go into O'Reilly and talk to the people that work there, because they're great and they're super friendly, and they'll get you squared away where you walk out knowing you got the right thing. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in-store or online, so you never have to worry if you're in a jam. Do you need your windshield wipers replaced? You need a brake light fixed? You need some quick service? They'll help you find the right part or point you to the nearest local repair shop for help. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are your one-stop shop for all things auto do-it-yourself, and you can find what you need in-store or online. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit us at O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish, or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today. You ever get that feeling you're stuck inside staring at screens and a primal urge kicks in? You crave wide open spaces, fresh air, the chance to connect with the land. Well, maybe it's time to find your own piece of the wild, but searching for property can be a maze. That's where land.com comes in. They got millions of listings across the country, from mountain ranches to hidden fishing holes. Their search tools are like a seasoned guide helping you narrow down what you want. Land.com isn't just about buying and selling. It's about finding a place to hunt, fish, explore, or simply sit by a campfire and listen to the crickets. So head over to land.com today to turn one day into today, because trust me, there's nothing quite like the feeling of standing on your own piece of earth.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And you're like the success of the hunt, like whatever you have, is this here elk hanging in your place right now?
No, it's actually at the office, which sadly enough is quarantined. So I can't go just, touch the horns, look at it, remember the time. But I'll send you a couple photos of it for the post for sure.
People are going to want to know how big of a bull we talking here. Yeah,
it was a good bull, man. And I think the important part of the story is like it did not come easy at all. It wasn't like one of those units where you walk out and you shoot the thing and there it is and you're done. It took a lot of effort. So I hunted for 17 days before I killed this bull. Learned a lot about, how to call in small bulls, how to go and hunt big bulls. And I was holding out too. And that's the thing that I've never done before ever in my hunting career. I've never been like, I'm going to kill a big bull, but I felt like I didn't want this thing to end too early because I was still working my way through a bunch of stuff. So on that 17th day, I was by myself and I was pretty deflated at this point because I'd passed a lot of little bulls, had a lot of good opportunities at some what anyone would consider, a great bull. But I was going after a 300-inch 6-point, right? That was my goal. And I remember pulling my truck out of this logging road. There's a green gate closing it. And I just walk out to the end of the road. It ridges off and drops into this just gnarly canyon. And I bugle just once, just a little location bugle. And from behind me on the next ridge, kind of back towards the north, I hear just this, like a, hey, what's up? What's happening there? That kind of bugle. So I run back down the road, get to my truck, and I look and across, and I see like this 5 to 7 year old tamarack just going. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. So I know this bull is raking this pretty giant tree. So I figure he's a pretty good bull. So I bugled one more time, and that's where he turned it on. He gave me the rage bugle, which is every elk hunter's dream, because I think at that point,
that guttural end to it that just has like the
yeah, it's like, come on over here, let's make this happen. And one of the things I learned through this time is that the emphasis on what a hot cow does to a bull in a herd, right? Like what his behavior will change to when he's got cows around that he's trying to breed. So I knew just from that 17 days of being in the woods that this bugle was different, right? That this bull was going to play. So I jumped in my truck, ran out with my truck to this next ridge, parked, and then walked out. And this bull's probably like 2 miles out this ridge, but I could still hear him because he was so high. And it was just faint, right? So I just keep working my way out there. And then when I get to this spot where I know he's going to be, allegedly, from my visual and audio cues, I see just the asses of like what I consider to be a lot of cows. You know, we're talking more than 10 cows. So I'm like, oh man, a lot of eyeballs. This is going to be tough. So get the wind right. I'm sneaking in, and one of the cows kind of does like the head swivel with the ear flick, and I'm like, oh man, that sucks. And I think she caught wind of like my shoulder or something. So the cows kind of dip off the end of this ridge, and they're not really running or scared, but they know something's going on at this point, right? Which is a good lesson in persistence, because I knew that bull was trying to corral these cows, and I see these cows kind of go off the edge, and they just keep going and going and going. Like, oh man. And the edge, we're talking like 2,000 foot down to the bottom of the draw. And I'm not going to tell you the name of the draw because I think all my buddies back in Eastern Oregon would murder me.
Please don't. Yeah, we've had to have a lot of long talks prior to recording the daily podcast stories. I'm like, hey, look, let's keep it tight, boys. This river, that river. Mm-mm.
Yeah. The drainage has a name that makes you kind of feel some mean feelings in your heart. You know, like it's named because it's nasty. So I work my way over to the edge of this, and I can understand where the bulls or the bull and the cows are heading to. So I do the old cut them off at the pass. And I was able to get in front of him on about the top upper third of the slope, and kind of got in between him and his cows, and just started this bugle fest. You know, like every person, like when elk hunting is shown on TV, this is what it looks like, right? So we're ripping bugles back and forth, and as far as I can tell, there's no other bulls in the group, which is good for me, because he hasn't been really challenged in his sweet September yet. So I'm at the spot. I'm behind just a reprod tree, just a little pine tree, and all I see coming up the hill at me, and at this point the wind's basically at a crosswind. I like to try to get a crosswind instead of just a full frontal in your face, because seemingly you have a little bit more agility in that situation. And all I see coming up the hill are these just great big brow tines, just trucking up the hill. And at this point, the arrow is knocked and things are starting to happen, and I've sort of shut up. And this bull comes up to he stops at like 18 yards. And from this point, all I've got is his antlers, right? Because it's such a steep slope. So I gave him just a little cow call, and he charges like feels like, less than a second. He's at 10 yards and I'm at full draw, and this bull is, quartering 2 basically. And so I'm full draw, and as he lets out what I consider like the most earth shaking, ground breaking bugle I've ever heard in my life from that close, just like what you talked about. So the deep guttural, just like every person's dream, right? You want to see this happen. And as he's bugling, I release my arrow, and at this point, pretty much blacked out. There's not a lot of like conscious effort. It's just muscle memory at this point. And I watch the arrow bury, behind his shoulder, but a little far back. And I think to myself, wow, come all this way. You had the dream situation. and you messed up, it's like too far back. So I'm just like beside myself, and the arrow hits him mid bugle and it just kind of cuts it off. Right. Which is like one of those like empowering moments where like that bull is hurt now because he can't bugle. Right. It's like the one thing that bull can do really well is announce his presence. So I gave it a second, kind of sat back. The bull runs to 70, stops, and I see him do like the sway, right? Like the death sway. Like,
I love that. The hips just get going. You're like,
yeah, and we're in good shape, right? We're in good shape. So at this point, I just kind of sit back, let things happen, and I see him I see the cows start to filter across the next ridge, and they just keep going and going and going, but no bull follows them, right? So kind of give it a little bit of time. Waited about an hour, and at this point it's getting kind of dusky. And I walk down over the edge and I look down at the bottom of my glass and I can see him dead in the bottom of the draw. And like I said earlier, I was on the top third of the slope, and the bottom of this drainage is like a good 2,000 feet down. But it's, and elk don't necessarily like to die in nice flat places usually. They like to go for water. They like to go deep and nasty. And at this point, I'm pretty ecstatic. So I hike up back to the top and call my buddy, who is at the time, I learned this later, is like in his boxers about to sit down to a shrimp and scallops dinner. Like it's in front of him, and he's about to sit down and enjoy a nice meal after he's already tagged out in September.
Sounds like he might be in quarantine. That's kind of what I do every night. Sit down in my boxers, have a nice shrimp. I like that.
He was just tagged out at the time and just loving life mid-September. And I call him, and he meets me out there, and we end up getting this bull out and in 2 trips, which was pretty fantastic because I don't think I would have wanted to have gone back down to that bottom again, but we got him out, and at that point I think I felt this sort of like, you know what, everything's gonna be all right. You can do this. This is what makes you happy. You're going to find somebody that also enjoys this with you. And it was just one of those moments that, like, hunting for me is such a bigger experience than just like watching something die or putting food on the table. It's about what it can do for you as a human. And I think that at that point, all that preparation, all that work, all that scouting, and all the time in the woods, I didn't know it at the time, but I was just basically making myself better as a human. And I think that's what I try to explain to people now is why I hunt. There's a lot of external reasons, like I said, food, adventure, time with buddies, whatever it is. But for me, it's pretty personal. I think there's a lot of things that have happened in my life that I can always turn back to the archery stuff and make it happen. And that's really what has changed my perspective on the sport for sure, is just being able to kind of come out of a otherwise pretty shitty situation on the end of this thing and feel good about it, and move through it. So
yeah, it's so layered, right? When we get in these situations where, I imagine that killing that bull helped you kind of put a period to the sentence, but had you not killed a bull, you probably still feel just time outside still has some transformational elements to it. I mean, it has to.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's extremely cathartic that way.
And that's why hunting has those layers, right? That the layer of just spending time outside, being in nature, disconnecting, processing, solving problems, exploring mysteries, going from hill to hill, seeing what's over the next thing, understanding hard work and long days and
certainly metaphoric that way, and it's there's a lot of translation there for sure.
And then by the end of it, you can, you got that bull hanging in the first light office. You can look at that whenever you need to and be like, yeah, I did that against a lot of odds, not only in the hunting, but in what the hell's going on in your life. So well, the hell done, man. We call that, we have like the fire bull. Everybody has is this the Heartbreak Bull? What are we?
Yeah, I think it is.
Help you name it?
Yeah, you should. I just called him Rupert because he kind of was goofy. I feel like Rupert's a goofy name.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah.
But it's certainly like the heartbreak to healing bull for sure, man. It was just a very pivotal experience in my young life, and really set me straight. I think that's the nature of this kind of story, this kind of hunt.
Now that's the cool thing. I mean, I said on Friday, and probably said before, that the quarantine cast here is just me getting together with good buddies and telling hunting stories, and it's in some way good to get back to that for me even personally, because just talking about hunting, talking about those experiences, reliving cool things that happened to me in my life with the people that I enjoy, and is his own catharsis. Telling the story is its own way of kind of being healed in weird ways. Not to get too deep on anybody, but
no, I like it, man.
So you spent a lot of time elk hunting, but that's a good transition to turkey hunting. You spent less time turkey hunting, right? I mean, more. You're the when we came together. I need to learn to elk call from you, and I'll show you how, at least as much as I know about turkey calling. It was a good setup.
My experience, like turkey hunting, was just growing up. We would just go 3-4 days of spring, and it was not at the level in which you guys approach it, which was awesome to learn, and I think we can get into that for sure, because I think it's just one of those things that it's kind of like elk hunting in the spring, so to speak, a little bit, similar things. Yeah.
So because I like to rip these stories out, we'll get to how we got to Eastern Oregon down the line, but we just start at the turkey that you killed, and then we'll work our way back to the beginning. But so we got together turkey hunting in Eastern Oregon last year. It was right after the BHA rendezvous, which is in May last year.
Yep.
So fast forward to, I've already killed a bird, which I will tell you guys all about. I've already killed a bird. We get back to camp. There's a bunch of dudes in camp. Guys from Federal Premium Ammo, a bunch of other companies came together to put on an awesome hunt. We could all just hang out, blow some steam after the rendezvous, have a good turkey hunt on some public ground up in Oregon. We come back. I've already got a turkey down, and we're going to get you a bird. And we come back, and a couple of guys had returned. I won't divulge who they were, so it's not to it's not to piss them off or embarrass them. Either way, they had been hunting a turkey that whole morning. They were having issues trying to get this bird to fire up and come in. And we got back, and we're having a conversation with them, like, hey, we filled out our tags. They're like, hey, this is where we were. If you guys want to check it out, that's fine. And interrupt me, Kevin, if I'm getting this wrong, because throughout the quarantine cast, I've screwed up lots of details.
That's right.
So we decide we're going to run out to the general area where they were, kind of in the afternoon, and see if we could strike up a bird really quick. I want to get back out there. We had quick success on my turkey. See if we can at least strike a bird up, roost them, get back at it in the morning. I remember not having a whole bunch of hope we were going to kill a turkey, just thinking we could set something up for the following morning and see some new country. So we go zooming down a bunch of county roads, a bunch of logging roads, park the truck at the spot where they said to park, get out, and I don't know, when did we hear this bird? I mean, we were just getting our vests on and getting going, and we heard this bird.
Didn't even sort of strike up a gobble. It just sort of, we're just standing there thinking about, what side of the road we're going to go to, what looks like the best country, and all of a sudden just up the ridge, right?
Up the ridge, not too, like 200 yards, 300 yards up the ridge from us.
Yeah, not far.
So give people, this is kind of your country as you're describing. You spent a lot of time in Eastern Oregon and hunted the hell out of it. So give people just kind of the best you can what that landscape we were in looks like.
Yeah, so all these old like logging roads basically were logged during what I would consider probably like 40-ish years ago. I would assume 40 to 50 years ago, and continued to be logged here and there. So there's a lot of reproduct along the roads. And then you kind of get up into these little benches where there's like open sort of stump ground, and then reprod, and then some big old growth. So yeah, the spot we were hunting was basically 200-300 yards off a road, and we kind of got to climb up through this what'd you call it? Like, it's like open understory basically with some big trees leading up to this really beautiful bench. Kind of almost looks like whitetail country that way.
It really does. Yeah, there's just like a big cut block where with a bunch of young pines coming up from where it had been cut. And great spot for turkeys, a high ridge where they can be up on a bunch of roost trees that were kind of set down on the ridge enough where they weren't skyline, but enough where they like to have the vantage. And I'm immediately when I hear this bird gobble, I'm like, well, that turkey's fired up. And he's not just gobbling to gobble; he's gobbling at a hen or something. Right. He just had that urgency about him, like he was rounding up, much like a herd bull might do when he's rounding up his cows. He just
I remember it being very consistent. Like a gobble, 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 boom, gobble. Boom. Yeah.
And I couldn't believe, and you'll hear the story of my turkey in a minute. I couldn't believe that we had come to such luck. Once I heard this gobble, how close it was, and I looked, and there was just kind of like a serpentine pattern of timber leading to this open bench that you were describing. And I'm like, man, we go down to the bar ditch here, get up the other side, we can follow this timber, and then we're going to be in some, parallel with him at some point, and then eventually we're going to be on his level, and we'll still be in the timber. So as long as we don't mess anything up here, I don't want him to have the high ground anymore, but we should be able to cut that off and get close to level with where he was on the hill. So to look at him, like, I can't believe we got this lucky 2 times in a row. This is, who knows what's going to happen, but man, we just shut the door to the car and we got a bird gobbling, and we're at, day 2 of the hunt, maybe?
Yeah,
or day
I think
1.
So, yeah.
Day 2 or day 1? We had,
I think it was day 2, I think.
Day 2, so it's not like we were 6 days into a hunt or anything.
So no.
To fill tags that quickly. So anyway, we get going up the hill there. We sneak around, get on the edge of this timber, and kind of quietly sneak up, which is probably 200 yards in the timber, 300 yards in the timber, to get to this bench where I would say by the time we hit the bench, 150 yards to our left at this point, which would have probably been our northeast, this bird's still gobbling the whole time. I mean, he didn't shut up for more than 10 minutes the entire time we were hiking up there. So which, as any turkey hunter will know, any hunter will know, when a bird is vocal like that, you can really move quickly and easily, knowing exactly where he is, understanding your spatial awareness where you couldn't if he wasn't making noise. So we were able to be a little bit more aggressive than you normally would. We get to the edge of the timber. He's still gobbling, and we're kind of just crawling out on this mossy flat. And I look up, and I don't know if I'm in front of you or you're in front of me at this point. We're kind of jostling around to get positioned. I look up, and not too far away from us, you could say how far, I'll let you tell a little bit of the story now, but there's a hen probably, 50, 60 yards away from us? Maybe closer.
Yeah, almost a shootable distance, right?
Yeah.
And we kind of peek our head through, and at this point we're all masked up and sort of thinking about how we're going to do this, and we're almost pinned at that point.
Yeah, we were pinned. I was behind you, and I'm like, I can't move. Nobody, if you move, if we spook this hen, it's game over. We were absolutely pinned at this point. We got a gobbler up above us. All he had to do is come 100 yards, and it's over. And now we've got a live decoy. We didn't even have time to crawl out and put a decoy up.
No.
So and again, we're 20 minutes from the truck. On what essentially is a flyer to go find and see if we can roost a bird. All of a sudden, we're in the thick of turkeys, 20 minutes from the truck, in a place where our hunting buddies had just spent almost all day running around trying to find a turkey, and here we are stumbling into it. So I get a call out. At this point, I know that we're in the absolute best position possible. So for anybody who's ever turkey hunted, or if you haven't, if you can get in between or anywhere close to a hen and a fired up gobbler, especially as I'm thinking, hey, it's near the roost time, they're going to be moving toward roost at this point. They got an hour or so, hour and a half or so. They're going to be moving towards the roost at this point. So the direction this hen is going is the direction that gobbler's going, no doubt. And the way that he was acting, he's fired up, and he's not going to let her scurry off too far. As soon as I saw that hen, I'm like, this is going to be, as long as we can stay vocal. And from what I remember, that hen just was putting and just kind of hanging out, very calm, but still vocal enough that he could hear her. And all I did was add some purrs to it, add some contented calls to it, add a cluck here and there, kind of. When I said she wasn't putting, she was clucking. But, these are contented calls. We're just kind of adding to the mix for him to think like, oh, man, there's another hen in the timber there. I got to go check that out. Yeah. And I don't know how long it was. It wasn't long. He was over there and on top of us, and how long?
Well, I didn't. I just remember like I had my gun up and it was kind of like resting on my knee, just waiting, and then all of a sudden he was there.
Yeah, he was there,
and it was a matter of seconds, and he did the whole presentation, which I think in any sort of situation, what I look for now as a hunter is like that's kind of what I'm after, is these like presentation moments that are sort of textbook, but not a lot of people maybe have the opportunity to see because maybe they only spend 2 to 3 days in the woods, so they're just kind of taking it as they go. But we actually had the opportunity to see how it should happen, right? And maybe it's a lot of luck, maybe it's just the way we found out where these birds were. Whatever it was, this thing happened exactly how it should have. And
he was in. He came in and strutted some. He was, from what I remember, spitting and drumming, putting on the show. Man, he was fully
doing like the back and forth, right? The sort of the zigzag routine.
Yeah. The only nervousness I had is the hens started to move away. There was 2 hens from what I remember, and they were popping in and out of these young pines, and they started to move away from us. And my worry was like, shit, he gets in here to 50 yards and kind of peels off after these hens. And so I'm back in the timber laying on for a lot of it, I couldn't even see him, but I could feel that turkey, but I couldn't see him. And so I just kept purring, kept clucking, kept keeping just a rhythm about that, just to try to get him to hang around, maybe cut the distance 10 more yards so you could get a shot. Because I was feeling like the edge of that timber was not close enough to where he was banking in to get to strut. I just felt like it wasn't close enough.
Right.
And that was my only worry from what ended up being a really simple turkey encounter. But he gets in there, and obviously you take it from there, because all I'm doing is making turkey noises.
Yeah, I remember you kind of like slinking back into the timber just a little bit, almost just like how elk hunter would do it, to try to draw that bird or that elk just 5 yards closer, right? And I remember that bird doing his sort of strut and routine through that area and kind of weaving. And sometimes this happens to me often, where I just get lost in sort of the presentation of it all, and I forget almost that, we're going to kill this bird now, and that's one of those things where I remember him, and you're probably thinking to yourself, shoot him, freaking shoot him. And I remember his feathers kind of coming back down from that strut once, and I didn't shoot him. Then he went back into a strut again, and then he came back out. And this is like 44 yards or something, and hit him with that TSS from Federal and dropped him in his tracks at 44 yards. And I mean, if he would have went another 2 feet, it would have been all over, because he was going to be back in those little pine trees, and there's no shot. It was literally one shooting lane.
Yeah.
And we made it happen, and that was exhilarating, man. Exhilarating.
Yeah, I mean, man, you tell stories like this, and I think you could probably say this elk too. It's very similar, and it's awesome that you're as passionate elk hunter as I am a turkey hunter, and kind of like the way those things collide. And in your in country that you know well and spend a lot of time in, it's a good combo. So you get to a point where, especially in this case, like this turkey, this is presented you on a platter, but there's just this one variable. Everything has to go right. We could have chased that turkey for forever and never got into a position where he was sucked into some hens going toward the roost, and we got to 40 yard, like a perfect 40-yard position, didn't get spotted by the hens. I was sure when we poked our heads out, I'm like, that hen is going to see us. Like, there's no way that it's just
like those cows, right?
Yep. Similar positions there. And so you're like, man, something's going to go wrong. This is too easy. We're going to end up back in here tomorrow, belly crawling through this timber, trying to get that bird anywhere close to where he is right now. Because he was henned up. He was henned up in the definition of the word. We just happened to be like right in the right spot. And part of that was, we talked about our approach. We said if we go up here, we poke out here, we'll be, in a good spot on that bench. But the other part of it's serendipitous, to say the least.
Yeah, what's interesting about that situation too is when we're talking about like animals and their directional ability, when those turkeys come out of the tree in the morning, it's almost like the world's their oyster, right? They can do whatever they want. They might be going a long way to go get food. Maybe they're going to a spot where they're going to try to round up some hens, at least in my experience, right? But what's cool about when they're going back to the roost is if you can figure out just the general area where they're going to be roosting, and this might be simple, but it was kind of an aha moment for me. If you're within that like 40-yard range of where they want to go, it seems like that pathway is sort of set in stone because they're trying to go somewhere because they're pretty vulnerable, obviously, at night.
And that's historically why a lot of, even me growing up, you could historically, a lot of places out east and even in the Midwest, you can only hunt till noon.
Yeah.
Because that's, I imagine there's other factors, but I imagine it's part of that fair chase. Like you're not going to sit under the roost tree and let them walk right to you. But in our case, we just like, it was one of the factors that led us to success, that he wasn't going to bail off over the hill if we spooked the hen. He needed to be where she was and wanted to be where she was, for a million different reasons. So it's one of those things, man. I was happy as hell. We just went through like a single day and killed 2 turkeys. Yeah. I think that was the only 2 turkeys in camp. I think at that point.
I think there was one more killed. I think Jason from Federal killed one with his 410, right?
Yeah, he did.
Which is pretty cool. And that's that nod to that ammunition, man. That TSS stuff's incredible.
Dude, last year, I got a hoarding. I'm not hoarding toilet paper. I've been hoarding TSS over here. Last year, I shot a bird in Texas and literally decapitated this thing and broke its legs in the process. The payload hit it so hard. To the point where Ranella was like, did you break those legs when you were butchering it? I mean, no, dude. There was no way I could have broken its legs like that. It got hit so hard by the payload that it snapped its legs. In this case, you made a great, 44 yards is a poke, in my opinion, with any 12 gauge, 20 anything, any shotgun.
Especially with that small target. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back here. It was more the ammunition that did the job, but certainly pretty impressed with that for sure. It just gives you that extra level of confidence to be able to, if you make a good shot, it's going to be pretty lethal.
Yeah. So that's it, man. That was your turkey, and we were excited, and I'm sure we popped a few beers that night, and that was it, man. That was kind of the end of the hunt. It was a quick and dirty hunt, if you can be that lucky. To rewind, this is earlier that day. That morning, if we rewind to that morning, you and I ride down from our camp. We kind of pick a zone that we're going to hunt, look at some maps, find our way into an area. If I can remember right, we got a little bit turned around to where we wanted to get to. Never been in that country before. Finally found our way down, what was a pretty gnarly logging road back into an area where it looked like there was some good flats, some good ridges, some good areas where they can work the edges, and some good zones where they'd like to strut into. And there was a lot of sign on the roads too, turkey tracks everywhere. I felt pretty good about it, but I never felt as good as I did when I heard what I would say is the most fired up, maybe the dumbest turkey that I've ever run into in my entire career. This turkey I ended up killing. We should have named him. I don't know. I don't remember if we did or not. But
I should have named him the Squawker, man, because he would not quit. Like from the get-go.
We parked. I remember parking the truck and calling and nothing, and then heard this bird up. He was up on, I would say a ridge. It was more like just a exaggerated knob, kind of in the middle of the timber there. I mean, he was up on the crown of it, just strutting and gobbling. I think I still even have a video on my phone of him he was interrupting his own gobbles. Well, that video you sent me, he was like, hey, like, It's just, I think I made the analogy of like he's in a guy in a bar walking up to a chick like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah. How you doing?
Can I get your number? Yeah, can I get your number? I want your number. Can I get your number? Let's go out. Let's go out. Let's go out.
I love you. I love you so much.
I love you. I love you so much. And this is this turkey, man. And I've never, where he was on this crown was like a beautiful grassy knoll where he had a bunch of awesome roost trees, kind of a grove, a canopy that made it just seem idyllic. And he's up on this crown. As I explained before, like the worst thing I like to see in this kind of country is a turkey that's above you.
Yeah.
Because it's the worst thing to do. And then I'll say that I made a tactical error of all tactical errors. Luckily, this turkey there was no way he wasn't going to die.
Yeah.
Like he just was determined to come see us no matter what. He was up on this knobs, and we were kind of snaking through a bunch of down timber, trying to get under where this knob was. And at this point, I haven't seen him. We don't exactly know what kind of terrain he's in, but we know he's above us, and we know we got to make an approach that's not the best. And I was stressed out the whole time because I'm like, he can see down through here. I don't know what approach we could take that's better than this one, but this is going to be sketchy. But at some point, we get right below his ridge there, right below his little castle, and we have to cross some downed. I would say lodgepoles, but they weren't, but down pines, with clear cut to get to the edge of his ridge and get up the other side. So I'll let you take it from there. We had a little conversation where you made the right call and and I was like, screw it, let's go belly crawl.
O'Reilly Auto Parts are in the business of keeping your car on the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts offer friendly, helpful service and the parts knowledge you need for all your maintenance and repairs. If you're confused about what part you need, like what wipers are going to be the best, what replacement headlights are going to be the best, go into O'Reilly and talk to the people that work there because they're great and they're super friendly and they'll get you squared away where you walk out knowing you got the right thing. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in-store or online, so you never have to worry if you're in a jam. Do you need your windshield wipers replaced? You need a brake light fixed? You need some quick service? They'll help you find the right part or point you to the nearest local repair shop for help. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are your one-stop shop for all things auto do-it-yourself, and you can find what you need in-store or online. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit us at O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today. You ever get that feeling you're stuck inside staring at screens and a primal urge kicks in? You crave wide open spaces, fresh air, the chance to connect with the land? Well, maybe it's time to find your own piece of the wild, but searching for property can be a maze. That's where Land.com comes in. They got millions of listings across the country, from mountain ranches to hidden fishing holes. Their search tools are like a seasoned guide helping you narrow down what you want. Land.com isn't just about buying and selling. It's about finding a place to hunt, fish, explore, or simply sit by a campfire and listen to the crickets. So head over to Land.com today to turn one day into today. Because trust me, there's nothing quite like the feeling of standing on your own piece of earth.
Yeah, we just sat, right? I mean, we got to that point and I just thought, well, if this thing is so fired up, he's going to make the distance, right? So we probably ended up going a little short, honestly, in the grand scheme of things. But I just thought, like, well, if we're trying to equate this to elk hunting in some regard, which is maybe unfair for the general intelligence of these things, but the thing is, like, he was so jacked up that I thought, well, maybe he'll come an extra 50 yards at this point. So we kind of hunkered down and we kind of got to this point where it was like a little lower than we would have liked from what I remember, is a ridge runs straight out in front of you. We were kind of on the downward side of that ridge. There's like a little bowl in front of us that he had to come through. And I bet you not like, I don't know, 5 minutes after we sat down and just started calling a little bit, that thing was on a mission. But he held up, right? I mean, he came to where we probably should have got to. But I think he probably would have seen us at that point if we would have kind of inched up into a little bit more country. I remember seeing him because we were kind of set up where you were in front of me. I was a little bit farther back at an angle. If he came from either way, either one of us is going to try to shoot him. And I remember him kind of holding up in front of this big tree, and I just saw his head poke up. So I was just hunkered. And then you hit him with another series of calls, and he came in right to you. I mean, that had to have been like, what, 25, 30 yards maybe?
Oh, yeah. Easy.
Yeah, and
easy.
He came running to you.
Yeah, no, he just.
I was like, stop! You're too close.
You're going the wrong way. He came to my side, to the right side.
Yeah.
To where I really just didn't. I didn't think he was going to do that. The play I had is there was a kind of a old road, a 2-track road in front of us. I thought he was going to hit that and strut in there. Want to strut in the wide open instead of coming through the timber. It's kind of, there's some undulating hill up and down hills there, and he came the one way I thought he wouldn't, and so now I've got a tree to my right. Got, if my gun barrel is I don't know, 12 o'clock, he's coming at like 5 o'clock, and I've got a swing, but I've got a tree between me and him, and I've got another little sapling I've got to raise my gun barrel over to get an angle. So I'm like, as he's coming, I'm looking at him, I'm looking through the side. I'm like, well, he's going to get behind me, and then maybe I can flip around and shoot him. But I don't want to really drag my barrel across you, and I don't want to let him get past us.
Right.
I didn't want to. So he gets about 25 yards. He's behind a log, puts his head down. I think I could swing really quick. When he puts his head up, I'll just kill him right there. Well, it wasn't great. I tried to pick my gun barrel up to get over this sapling and whacked this sapling directly in the center of it and making a noise.
Kind of like a broom getting beat against the deck.
It sounded like if I was hitting this microphone I'm talking into. It sounded like this.
Yeah.
It was loud.
Yeah. I was like, what is he doing up there?
What's he doing over there? So I get to swinging on this thing and hit this tree. He looks up, sees me immediately, and starts turning to run. And in my mind, it was one of those oh shit moments where I'm sure this thing's gonna fly off through the timber, and I'm gonna be this is the dumbest turkey hunting move I've ever made. And luckily, before he kind of like takes flight, I just turned and he kind of slowed down to one of those just head bob walks where he was just confused as to what he saw, and he kind of turned to look back at me at maybe 35 yards, and I shot and knocked him down. Luckily for me, I wouldn't have, but I didn't have to take like a running shot. Like most turkeys, this turkey just didn't have it. Most turkeys would have heard that whack and been flying to salvation. But this bird just kind of like trotted off like, I don't know.
Yeah, but, we should call him Romeo probably, because there's just nothing that was not going to keep him from coming to love there.
But we have to reverse from, so that bird's down. We took some photos, did our thing, and we had bird number 1, and you love it, man. You love it when something comes together like that. But we got to go back to the time where before this happened, where we screwed it up.
Right.
Like I said, he was in his own little castle. He was on like the crown of this beautiful green meadow. And he was hanging out in a place where his roost tree was, and it was kind of a hard spot to get to. And we get in there. We have to cross a clearing to get to the base of this knob that he's on, which is probably about 500 yards above us.
Right.
And I say, hey, man, I don't want to... This bird's fired up. I think we should just charge in there. If we get close to him, he's going to come down the hill at us and we'll kill him, no problem.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, but he might see us. Let's go around the knob to the backside. We'll have timber cover. And we'll probably, he's definitely not going to see if we do that. I said, man, I think if we just sneak across here really fast, we're going to get close enough. And then all we'll have to do is make a squeak and he'll come down. With any noise we make, he'll come charging down. And at this point, we're having this conversation, and in the background, he's like, in the background. I mean, probably 100 gobbles in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah,
I've never heard anything like it. It was remarkable. And so I think, like, at this point, I'm like, this turkey is going wild. We can be aggressive. And if we can get this done, if we can get across this little clearing without him seeing us, it's over. So it's 100%. It's 100% over if we get across this clearing, because on the other side of it, it slopes up to where he's standing. He all he has to do is come 50, 60 yards down this hill, which he's gonna do. Right. And we could have laid on our stomachs and shot him as he crested and came down to us. None of that was perfect. In fact, it wasn't optimal at all. But my feeling is this turkey is so mad for whatever reason. He's so fired up that he'll do kind of whatever we want at this point.
Right.
And I remember you saying, "Yeah, but we could go back." I'm like, "Yeah, let's get across here." I went first. And you followed. We got across this thing. There's a lot of down pines and stuff to get over, so it's relatively noisy.
Yeah, it's only we were chasing bugles at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it's like that same deal where it's not just like a new wheat field that you're hunting the edge of. We're like hunting mountain turkeys. You know?
Yeah, this is mountain turkey hunting, man. It's very much like elk hunting. Same kind of scenario. You could replace that turkey with the big bull, and it would have been much the same kind of decision.
Right.
We make it across this, make some noise getting across. I'm not happy about kind of what's going on. I 3/4 of the way across what was probably a 75-yard journey. I'm like, this is not. If he's still up there, it's a miracle. We get to the bottom. We start kind of, slowly making our way up the ridge, and then we stop, and it's silence. And I immediately like, well, that's over. Yeah. He is gone. But in your head, you're like, well, maybe he just is moving towards us, or maybe he's just quiet. But after 20 minutes of just a gobble every 3 seconds, and I knew, I'm like, well, we spooked that turkey. Yeah. That was a shit decision. And so we hiked up there to where he was, hung out a little bit, didn't hear him. And then 20 minutes after, I knew that we spooked him, maybe 500 yards to our southwest, where we ended up shooting him, we hear, like, oh, he's back.
Yeah, he's back.
Didn't take him long.
He just got a little scared. No, he just got a little scared.
Didn't take him long. Yeah, I mean, usually a mature tom like that, and he was mature, will get spooked in a scenario like that, especially when he's so close to his roost tree, when he's so, in his home zone, is going to get out of town and not be heard from probably for the rest of the morning.
Yeah.
This guy just flew like across the ridge, got on the next ridge over, walked about 100 yards, and then just went right back to it and hit it.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting that way. And I think like the piece to remember there is just like staying agile in that situation. Especially like with an animal like that that's so fired up. If you're able to kind of like give it a second, reassess, and then go hunt him. I mean, that was like a pretty unique situation, obviously, with the way he responded, but certainly something I learned for sure, is just staying on your toes, being a little agile.
I learned something that day too, because I did say, hey, let's just sit here a while. Like, we just gotta, we spooked this bird. There's no reason to like go try to call and strike up another one. Let's sit here a while and just kind of see. Let's just take a break, and we lost this battle, and let's just sit under this tree a while and do some,
I mean, that was way past daylight too. I think you killed that bird at like 9 or 10, right?
Something like that. Yeah. And so we ended up hiking off the knob, his little castle, which, dude, I'm glad I have Onyx, because I can mark my waypoint of that like most perfect knob. Like that's I would almost guarantee there's a turkey you stand on that knob as we speak right now.
Yeah, ready to go.
Go.
That's right.
So I, thanks to our buddy Zach from Onyx was there. So thanks to him for being a part of a great company to help us do that too. I mean,
yeah, no kidding, man. I think a lot of times you just put your head down, and you're like running around chasing this bird around. You don't really know where you're at anymore. And that's why it's like kind of a good thing, whether you drop your pack or whatever, you just throw a little pin down, you'll make your way back.
You'll make your way back, whether it's the next day or the next year or whatever. It's beautiful, right, man. That's so right. We went down the ridge and up the other side, and then the story we already told you happened. We were just kind of walking kind of back towards the truck and heard him again, and then made the move, and he came and did that. I tried to mess it up. I tried my hardest to mess it up. I just couldn't. So for some reason, I couldn't mess it up. He made it work. So, and then, guys in camp, bless them, man. They, my buddy Matt Elliott from Benchmade had a rough time. What was that turkey called that they hunted the whole week and never got a shot at?
I can't remember what they started calling that thing, but they hunted him like 5 hunts, and it was the same bird. And they just could not make it happen. I think just for the simple sake of the country they're hunting, it was a little difficult.
He had been hunted before.
And he knew what was going on for sure. He wanted to play though.
He would gobble and they'd get in on him. So everybody else was kind of having frustrating hunts. I know Jason Nash from Federal got a bird. Or maybe, he did get a bird with that 410. Yep. It's beautiful. Yep. But it was what we thought would be, a lot of birds be dropping.
Right.
It wasn't like that. And I think one thing I would give people about turkey hunting, those of you that are getting ready for this year and thinking about kind of what is turkey hunting compared to other types of hunting, you're gonna, and elk are like this too, to a certain extent, but I think turkeys don't quite have the brains up top that an elk does. You are going to, it's if you have the space on public land or your own private land, it can be a numbers game, especially in Western hunting like this was, where you really are, you're not sitting and calling, you're kind of using the country and the terrain to get to a point where a call might be to your advantage. But in these scenarios, you can work your way through. The first bird you may strike up could be the hardest bird to kill. And you may hunt that same bird for 5 days and feel like turkey hunting is the hardest thing you've ever done and it's impossible and you're awful at it. Or you might do what we did, run into 2 really good situations with 2 really fired up turkeys and be boom, boom, done and think it's the easiest thing in the world and they're nothing but a puffed up Roomba.
That's right. That's right.
As Sam Soholt always says. So you just got to keep your perspective. You're going to run into scenarios, and that's all of hunting, but I think for sure turkey hunting seems to be that way more predominantly, where you're going to run into a fired up 2-year-old or a 3-year-old bird that just in the right situation, he'll come right in and boom, it's over. And then you may hunt, Sneaky Pete for the better part of a month and never get him. So, and have many close encounters. So those of you new, I know a lot of you guys that write in are new turkey hunters or are looking forward to your first season or looking forward to killing your first bird. There's a line, there's lots of lines from Tom Kelly's book, but mostly he just talks about just being a part of the 10th Legion, being part of that army that's going to go out and just do it every day. And if you do that, you'll learn it's going to seem easy some days and seem impossible other days. That's right. And here we were, we were conquerors of Eastern Oregon because we got
feeling like champions, man.
Feeling like champions. It was I would say situational. I've had turkeys I've killed where I thought like that was all me. Like I made that happen. A lot of times when they fly over a fence or over a creek or you pull them in from a long ways, you feel like you're the calling champion of the world. But in this case, man, it was a hell of a good feeling. And I went home and chopped that bird up and made turkey cordon bleu the next day.
I know, I remember that. It looked delicious.
It was beautiful. So we should probably, I guess we technically can't go together, but we could be in the same area of Oregon.
Yeah.
This year.
You could just communicate by elk calls and then try to kill some turkeys with turkey calls.
We could happen to be near that waypoint like around April 18th or something.
Yeah, that might work. I think we're in the works on some stuff. We'll see how long this thing lasts, but I think the woods are a good place to be, especially if you're spread out and you're going with people that you know and trying to keep things civilized for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to being quarantined.
Yep.
You want to avoid people, fresh, clean air, face mask, all the same. So
right.
You'll feel right at home. So
that's
good,
right.
Man. This fires me up. I just telling that story. That was the best turkey hunt I had last year, and that was turkey number I think 5 in the run of trying to get to 10. I'm never gonna. I just resigned to never ever get into my 10, but I'm gonna keep trying. My God.
Yeah, a kid can dream, right? And I think I'm on that same page now too. I think that there's such a good opportunity in the states that we were close to, to make it happen. And a good chunk of time too, which is cool. April, May, and make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you guys listening to this, if you're in the West or you're not, there's, no matter where you are, you're not too far away, road trip wise from really accessible states. I've had a few, you and I both had some trips canceled because of quarantine, but, Nebraska, South Dakota, of course, Montana, Colorado is really good over the counter. Oregon, Washington has some really good public lands and things.
Right.
So for me, I'm just exploring that. It's only my second spring up here in Montana, but man, there is a wealth of access and opportunity for game that you're probably just not going to see with other big game animals. So if you want to learn some country and drop some waypoints in some good spots and get some good table fare and have a damn good time in the spring. Cal and I were telling stories last week about Texas being just a mean mother at this time.
Mm-hmm.
You got rattlesnakes and ticks and chiggers, and you come out of there just torn to hell.
Yeah, that's right.
One of the beautiful parts about the West is you generally don't have, there's some of that, but it's not nearly as mean as the landscape down there in the Lone Star State, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's true. And I think just being able to be outside in the springtime is a good sort of shake the dust off, get things rolling for the fall. And I use it as a good time to kind of get my skill set back up, and spend some time in the woods and seeing the sun come up and the sun go down in a new way. And that's kind of what I look forward to is being outside and sort of taking it all in again and kind of getting geared up for the year to come. It's kind of our kickoff time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So go, as Kevin was saying at the outset, go apply for some tags, go plan hunts. You can do so much e-scouting now with the great applications out there like Onyx and many others. There's a bunch of stuff you can be doing, and it's a be a shame if you just kind of sit around and watch the news and fall face first into whatever that results in, which in a lot of ways is probably depression and fear and anxiety, all those things that are understandable but not necessarily helpful in a time like this. So
that's right.
Turkey hunting, baby. That's all I care about.
That's
I got to
right.
have you read Colonel Tom Kelly's, I do this with everybody, have you read Colonel Tom Kelly's The 10th Legion?
No, I haven't. I'm going to read it though. I'm going to
I'll get you a copy. Somehow I'll get you a copy in the mail, because you got to read it and then let that be your tradition every turkey season. You'll love the book. You'll love how it makes you feel as a turkey hunter. I wish, that elk hunting had a similar totem, a similar thing that made me feel ready and prepared, and I could read it 1,000 times. So I'll put in the mail something for you from Colonel Tom.
Yeah, I'll find you an elk hunting book too. They're out there.
Yeah, I know. I know. There's plenty. There's plenty. I just don't. I'd love to be introduced to. Yeah, something. I'd love to be introduced to one that kind of feels the way that 10th Legion feels. I'm ready for it if it's out there.
Perfect. Well, I'll get you one.
All right, brother. I appreciate everything. You stay safe down there, and hopefully I'll see you sometime down in Idaho for turkeys or some damn thing.
Yeah, that's right, man. Well, everybody get outside, enjoy that beautiful spring weather, and stay safe out there too.
Yeah, a lot of beautiful things coming from First Lite. Be checking social. You guys have been doing a lot of good Q&A, Insta stories, a lot of good new gear coming out. So if you want to be distracted, to go surf their website and just click and look at the new stuff and the systems, and just go and hang out and think about hunting. FirstLite.com is not a bad place to go do that.
Yeah, for sure. We got some great turkey kits up right now too, if you're starting to think about that, as well as spring bear. Will be coming in the next couple of weeks, so check that out. And as always, if people have any other questions, shoot me a note either on Instagram or however you want to get a hold of me, and I'm happy to help get you set up and ready to go this spring.
Beautiful. Oh yeah, and I also I got to tell you, we're doing the Great Hand Turkey Contest. We're trying to get 1,000 hand-drawn turkeys to celebrate the season, to get everybody distracted in a silly ass way that I normally do. So I already promised that you'd give away a jacket to the winner.
Oh, great. We can do that.
And then I would
down for that.
I would screen print the hand turkey drawing on the back, like Rocky's Italian leather jacket with the tiger on the back. So
I like it.
I promised that away without asking you, but I figured it was okay.
Oh, we can do that. We're on good terms, me and Benny.
All right, buddy. You go out there and do something outside. I'll see you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ben.
Bye. Beautiful.
Nice. Appreciate
Phil!
it, man.
Phil, are you
Just
there?
gotta keep yelling them. Stand by 1 second.
Yep.
Do I need to be here anymore? Oh,
No,
you're
you're good,
frozen. Perfect. All right. I appreciate it, Ben. I gotta just jump on another call real quick.
All right, go do it, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks, Ben. Appreciate it.
All right, be well.
Bye.
That's it. That's all. Another episode in the books. Thank you to Kevin Harlander. Thanks to everybody at First Lite. In fact, for being a big part of this show and a big part of what we do. So if you want to check out some new gear, head over to firstlite.com. They didn't ask me to tell you this, but I'll tell you this anyway because I think you should. Go to firstlite.com. New Guide Light shorts are there. The new Ridgeline quarter zip pullover is there. A bunch of brand new stuff is there for you to check out. So go do it. I would actually suggest while you're there, the Ranger snap shirt is one of my favorites. I wear it all the time. A lot of compliments. When we get back to airports, it's something you're going to want to be wearing while you're mobile. So, again, another great show. Back to tomorrow, Tuesday, with another hunting story, another guest, somebody else cool in my life. We're stacking up the guests for this week. We're going to have Steve Ranello on the show, Yanni Patelis, hopefully, if we can pull him out of the mountains and get a microphone in front of his face. A bunch of other people have reached out to me, actually, and asked to be on the daily quarantine cast, which I really appreciate. Thank you so much to everyone for the kind words. When I read some of these emails and some of these messages that you guys all send, it really makes a difference in my life. So if sorry, I'm gonna get a little emotional on you guys. If this show is helping you, if this show is making you laugh or think or just get your mind off whatever it is that's going on in your life, I'm thankful to have you, and I'm thankful that we can have whatever weird podcast related relationship we can have. I do genuinely care about everybody out there. I hope you're well. I hope you're having a good time. Hope you're smiling. Hope you're getting outside. I hope you're cooking. Hope you're playing with your kids. Hope you're reading books. All the things that can just keep us level during what is, as we've talked about, strange times. So we will see you tomorrow morning as we keep rolling on the Quarantine Cast. Bye.
The Hunting Collective with Ben O'Brien is a part of the Meat Eater Podcast Network. It is produced by Corinne Schneider and engineered by Phil Taylor. You can find it on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, themeateater.com, or anywhere podcasts are downloadable. Wherever you listen, leave a 5-star review and subscribe.
You ever get that feeling the walls closing in, the concrete jungle suffocating you? You crave some wide open spaces, the chance to connect with nature, maybe in a spot all your own. Well, head over to land.com. They've got ranches, forests, mountains, streams, you name it. Search by acreage. You can search by location. You can search by the kind of hunting and fishing you're dreaming of. Land.com. It is where the adventure begins.
As you know, the Meat Eater live tour is on April 23rd through May 5th. Chances are in a town near you. What you may not know is you can win tickets to each of these events just by going to a backcountry hunters and anglers pint night. There's going to be a pint night in each of these towns: San Diego, Salt Lake City, Tempe, Anaheim, Boise, Sacramento, Missoula, Portland, Tacoma, where you can compete in Meat Eater trivia and win not only tickets to the show, but a chance to be on stage with all of us. So get your butt to a pint night, and we'll see you on stage.